Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of College Blitz. I'm Russ Morgan here with my man Q. As always, Q. 15 days, and we got college football. 23 till we got the good, August 30th. But 15 days, we got some Division One football. How we doing tonight?
We 100% do. Is it 15 or 16? The 23rd. Well, listen. 23rd is week 0, but I haven't looked at the schedule officially. I would imagine that there's probably a Thursday night game, Friday night game. I'm sure the MAC kicks something off with some weird
games, but games that matter.
Yeah. Well, listen. Look, if you look over my right shoulder, right about there, there's a game that doesn't matter. But guess what? I was watching before we got on. Why? Because it's preseason football, and I've been without football for way too long at this point. And listen, I get all of it I can get. It's not CFL football, right? Where you miss a field goal and get a point for that. It's real American football. You know what I mean? So listen, it's on. I'm watching. That's how it goes. At the very least, do some fantasy research. It serves a purpose. It serves a purpose, bro.
100%. Yeah, it looks like got it right here. We got Saturday. Yeah, will be the first one, 23rd.
Okay. And
Iowa State, Kansas State. That's probably all we got to look at.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. There'll be other games.
Thursday, we got Stony Brook, San Diego State.
Told you. I figured there'd be a game. Yeah.
Boise, USF.
Okay. Boise State, USF. I mean, I'd take a look at that one right there, man. I'll welcome that one. I won't say no to it.
Not a lot much else on Thursday.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But hey, bro, that's the 20.
USF's getting a little better.
Yeah, the 20. So that's the 21st. That means 2 weeks from today officially.
Nebraska, Cincinnati.
There you go.
Well,
that's the 21st. That's the 21st.
That's Thursday at 9 Eastern.
Wow, bro. That's 2 weeks from tonight. We've got football that matters. 2 weeks from tonight. Oh my God. Hell yeah, there. Man. Let's go, bro. I'm with it.
But,
I'm with it.
We're doing good. How was your week? I mean, I know you got the Marlins stuff on. I didn't want to text any. I shut it down after this week after that abysmal performance.
I got the broom. I got the broom over here next to me. If you're looking for something.
But as Bobby knows, I'm probably like growing up as a sport. I'm never a homer. And I'm a really big critic of all my teammates. I'm really pessimistic. When it's going good, I'm negative too. So like I'll be the first person to say Aaron Boone sucks, but it's not all his fault. But I'm like, get the hell out. And you can't get swept by the Marlins. I mean, and I told Bobby being a bit, I'm like, I was like, I even told him before all that, I'm like, it could be sooner than what you think. They have some really good young players that they got, because I do follow college baseball, like with Kyle Stowers, really like Jacob Marcy. I mean, like, if you guys, if your new front office wants to, continue this way, it could be a lot sooner than what they think because of those young guys. And Yankees suck. So I was just like, thank God I didn't drive down to Miami to go see that shit show, because I'd be, on wherever you go in Miami, 12 beers deep looking for a Latina.
Man, look, 12 beers deep in Miami will run you about $200, bro. So you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with that right there. You gotta be careful what you drink down in Miami, bro. They'll get you.
Both of those, you gotta be careful, especially in Miami.
100%. Yeah. You got to be careful. But yeah, for sure, definitely don't drink and drive, everybody, first and foremost.
No.
We don't condone the drinking and driving on the College Blitz, so let's make sure we put that out there. But at the same time, I also don't condone, drinking 12 beers in most places in Miami, because, you get charged, like $20 a beer. So 20 beers or 12 beers will run you some money if you're not careful. And then if you meet a pretty Latino, lady, whichever one is your, particular taste.
There's a lot of them,
and the majority of them don't drink beer. I am a fan of a woman who drinks a beer. Just put that out there. I'm definitely cool with that. But most women in Miami, trust me, from my experience, do not drink beer. And so, it's an expensive proposition if you're going to most places in Miami to watch a game and you post up for about 2 or 3 hours, you're gonna pay for those 12 beers for sure, man. Without
Those
a doubt.
12 beers, I appreciate it because beers are usually cheaper. So like when I'm home now, I'm like, I'm gonna just get a mixed drink. When I go to the bar, I'll have a couple beers. I'm trying to cut back. Beer's heavy, as you know. So I'm gonna bring it down. I like my beer, but I'm like, all right, when I go to the bar, I'll get a couple beers. I don't go to the bar much anyways. Because it's a lot cheaper than a mixed drink. But I'm like, here, I can buy my own thing. It's a lot cheaper here. I'm like, I go to the bar, and it's like $4 or $5 a beer.
Yeah.
If I go to mixed drink, they're like, hey, that's $9. I'm like,
yeah, where are you getting a mixed drink at, bro? You ain't getting a mixed drink anywhere in Miami for single digits.
No,
I guarantee you.
California's like 12.
Yeah, no, Miami's the same way, bro. Miami, listen, anywhere in Miami you go where you're getting a mixed drink, I promise you, unless it's happy hour and you're getting a special somewhere, if it ain't happy hour, I'm telling you, you're paying double digits for a mixed drink everywhere. Yeah, everywhere in Miami. Trust me, everywhere in Miami, you're paying double digits for a mixed drink. You know what I mean? So
it sounds like I'd be doing a lot of drinking at home.
Yeah. Listen, man,
why would I go?
Especially growing up, man, in Miami, we'd always pregame before we went everywhere. Whose ever house we showed up at, obviously now who's ever driving, for the most part. But we'd show up at somebody's house and we pregame and then, get somewhere, with a good foundation, good foundation to continue, pouring on top of. But that was always the thing, man. You definitely pregame. You don't show up anywhere super
Blitz, sober. We do. If you are of age and you're going out, we condone you using Uber or Lyft. Uber or Lyft, or call a cab.
Yes, there's several disclaimers we have to make before I am of legal age to drink.
Call a cab like the good old days. When I lived in Nashville before I moved to Florida, and I did Broadway a couple times, not too many. I hated it. It sucks. Yep. It's a cesspool too. Yep. But there's so many people there. You just pocket a couple shooters, put them in your pocket, buy yourself a Coke, and there's so many people. You just pour yourself a couple. Nobody saves you a nice.
Yeah.
But I hated Broadway. It was terrible.
I'm all the way good with that, man. 100%, bro. I got no issue with that right there, man. I'll do that, and I'll do that now. I'll to save some cash, man. I'll go to sporting events. I'll go to some, concerts. Go to Atlanta United games. I'll do all that stuff, man. And I'll take some with me, man, because save a little cash, bro. Nothing wrong with saving a little cash. You know what I mean? So,
we also condone saving money on this podcast.
Yes. Not cheap, just frugal, man. You know what I mean? I'm an adult.
I was always I get called cheap. I say no, I'm thrifty.
Thrifty, frugal. There's nothing wrong with thrifty or frugal, man. You know what I mean? You just got to spend your money wisely. Like, I haven't always spent money wisely, but you try. When you get up a certain age, there's certain things you got to take into consideration, bro. You can't party all your money away, man. So, you gotta save money where you can. And alcohol, I think, is one of those. It's an easy way. There's so many ways that you can save money when it comes to going out and alcohol. So I'm all for that.
As we said, when there's college football on a Saturday or NFL on the Sunday, it's just better when you have a nice cold beer with you or a nice drink. Yes. And we're here to talk. Was this part 5 or 4? Part 4 with why they won't with Notre Dame today. So
yes, sir.
Obviously, Notre Dame pretty darn good year last year with making it the final. I lost money on that game, but so I wasn't too happy because I was like I had like a 3-leg parlay and I made it. The 3-leg made it enough where I could mess with the spread, and I had like Notre Dame lost the spread Notre Dame +9. And they lost by 8 or something like that. I couldn't remember the specific numbers. It's been a long time.
You're talking the championship game?
Yeah, the Ohio State game. Yep. And it literally was like when they're driving down, I'm like, oh, good. They're just going to run out the clock. And then they threw that long one to Jeremiah Smith to kick the field goal to lose my parlay. But obviously, Notre Dame right off the bat on the 31st, going down to Miami to play your Canes right there. I know you're going to be there. I know you're jacked up, ready to go. But I'm ready to talk a little Notre Dame football
Yeah,
tonight.
man. Hashtag LFG. If you know what I mean? Like, let's go, man. So, like my man Russ just said, man, we're talking 2024 Notre Dame, right? And we're recapping that. And the obviously I think a season that, for me, I think they probably over delivered, right? I think going into that season, I looked at them as being a really good team. I personally didn't have them in the title game, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one, right? But again, to start off with, part 4 of a 5-part series, right? Breaking down some contenders, what may keep them from contending. Obviously, last week, we focused on Alabama. This week we're doing Notre Dame and breaking it all down and breaking down the 14-2 season they had last year, right? Season that had them going all the way to the title game, had some impressive wins along the way. I think a team that you're looking at now in Marcus Freeman's 4th year, and a team that just continues to trend upward, right? I think it's interesting, right? Because you're talking about them, going down to Miami to play, to University of Miami, and this is 4th year for Mario Cristobal and for Marcus Freeman. They both got hired in the same offseason. That was also the same offseason that Lincoln Riley got hired at USC, right? And I would imagine right now the Miami fans and Notre Dame fans are more happy than
well, I would say if Miami after last year,
yes.
I mean, like, and I didn't think, and like going on a little, I didn't think Cristobal, was it like the year before Cam got there with 2023? They were a competitive team. If you actually went in, I'm like, they just made some dumb decisions. But like Mario, after last year, he's definitely on the up and up over Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, 100%, right? I think Lincoln Riley has by and large underwhelmed at USC when you consider him leaving Oklahoma, what he had there, what he had done there, what he accomplished there. Obviously, multiple. He had some Heisman Trophy winners there at quarterback. Obviously, went to USC. Did the same thing with Caleb Williams, but it hasn't had the team success overall that I think everybody or most people expecting him to have at USC, right? But you look at a guy like Marcus Freeman, took over full time in 2022, but after during the 2021 season, he was interim head coach when Brian Kelly left to LSU. Coached one game, lost that one, but since then, 22, he's been 22. He was 9-4, 23, 10-3, and then last year, ended up 14-1, followed by that loss in the title game, which made them 14-2. And again, man, for me personally, I think they overachieved last year. They were good. I didn't have them making the title game last year. I don't think I was shocked, but I was a little bit surprised for sure. But again, Marcus Freeman is a guy who's he's recruited really well. When you look at what he's done with his recruiting classes, man, they're stacking really good recruiting classes. They're bringing in a lot of talent. After this past season, they had 6 guys drafted. Some and all on defense, right? And so other than Riley Leonard, obviously, but. Again, man, they're building something really nice, in South Bend, and I think they're really the way he's building it. It's a system and a just a way to build a program that I think is built to last. As long as he stays there, I think that program is really going to be a contender every year for the most part.
Well said. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't have them. I thought they could make the playoffs. I didn't see them making the title game and being, especially after that Northern Illinois loss. But because I know a lot of Notre Dame fans and the calmer head ones were like, all right, well, we'll give Riley Leonard a game or two and figure it out. The ones who have no calm head, my boy Pete was yelling for Angelini after one bad game.
Yeah. Angeli.
What did I say?
You said Angelini. It's Steve Angeli.
Angeli. He's not there anymore. So
no, he's at Syracuse.
But I mean, they were calling for him early because Riley Leonard was struggling. But it kind of shows, and I told my buddies when Brian Kelly left, I'm like, honestly, it was probably a blessing in disguise because you're not going to fire a guy who's winning consistently for you, going to the would have gone to the college football playoff if he was there. You're not going to fire him. He leaves on his own volition. You bring in Marcus Freeman, who is a young defensive coach, but has these players love playing for. Guys love it. Unbelievable recruiter, and goes to show what type of talent he's bringing in.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a blessing in disguise. He just left on his own volition, and in my opinion, I'm like, Brian Kelly can't win a big game. Has he proved he can win the big game? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to this point, I would imagine, the LSU fan base would tell you the same thing, right? I think you look at Brian Kelly and a guy who's similar, right? Similar trajectory, obviously, without the titles. You got some guys that you can compare him to, right? Guys like Urban Meyer, who started, lower level, worked their way up to like bigger programs and won. Obviously, Urban Meyer, having won a couple titles at Florida. You look at a guy like Kalen DeBoer, right? Similar trajectory, right? Obviously, Brian Kelly, bigger stage for longer, but kind of the same thing, right? Started at lower levels, right? And worked his way up, has won everywhere. But I think, you go all the way back to when Marcus Freeman took over, right? I think, you look at a program who I think was, I don't know if stunned is an overplay, right? I know I was surprised, like when I heard he was leaving, and you look at, LSU and their AD, whose name escapes me right now, but he's a guy who is considered one of the top ADs, one of the top athletic directors in the country. And I think this is a perfect example of why, because this guy, swings big. Obviously, he's got major backing in terms of the boosters, got big time SEC money, and he's a guy who's not afraid to take a chance. And he did, when you go after a guy like like Brian Kelly, right? And so I think everybody was surprised when that happened. I was certainly very surprised that he took that job, right? Leaving Notre Dame and going down to, to LSU. I think, a guy who, probably was a little bit over his skis, I think, early on, but I think has kind of figured it out now. Has a talented team at LSU. But to go back to Notre Dame, when Marcus Freeman took that job, I'll be honest with you, man, I was skeptical, right? I was skeptical. And I think a lot of times, when you look at, hiring from within, I think it's the easy choice a lot of times, right? I think, you look at, across the country, right? We've seen that, a lot, right? When you look at, even again, not to go back to Miami, but, when Larry Coker took that job, for Butch Davis, right? I think it was the easy decision, right? I mean, he won a title, so it was a great decision, I think, early on, but it was such a great team that it was hard to mess that up. I think long term, we figured out that wasn't, the best hire, based on the way he ended his tenure there. But when he got hired there, man, I was a little bit skeptical. I wasn't sure about the fit. I wasn't sure that he'd be able to, really recruit. Obviously, based on his age, I knew that there'd be, he wouldn't struggle with, relating to the players, right? Look no further than the video they posted of him walking into that room that they were in when he got confirmed, right? And all the players mobbed him, right? And the whole deal. So that right there told you what that particular team thought of him. And I'm not really, impressed by that. And I don't say that to talk down on him, right? But I think it's really easy, right? Okay, right. He's popular, right? He's okay, cool. He's a cool guy. He's young. He's relatable. But what does that look like, for the future, right? What does that look like in terms of team building? What does that look like in terms of hiring the right people at coordinator? What does that look like in terms of, everything, recruiting, fundraising, sustained success? And I just wasn't sure that he was a guy that was built to last and was built to succeed long term. But he's definitely proven me wrong to this point.
I mean, definitely. I mean, and as like we saw last year and the year before, Marcus Freeman has had some slip up games. People have been, even before they made it, people have been calling for him. When you lose to Marshall, then you lose to Northern. People were calling for his head after that, but now you can't really touch him now. So it's not like, there's not like he's like, hey, he's dialed in where they're going 14-0 in the regular season. I mean, 12-0, whatever they play. I mean, they've had some bad slip ups that, I mean, if they lost one more game last year, they're not in the playoffs. If you go, I mean, I'm sorry, without a conference, you go 14-2, or you have 2 losses, I don't think you really deserve to be in the playoffs with no conference, with their schedule.
Yeah. Well, listen, we know with Notre Dame the love affair that the national media has with that particular team in that program, right? And this isn't me, speaking, based on my allegiance to any one particular program, any one particular team, but it's out there, and that's not a secret. That's nothing new, right? The media has favored Notre Dame for their entirety of their existence, essentially, right? From the time I've known anything about football, they've gotten the benefit of the doubt when it comes to really everything, right? They weren't great for a long period of time, and obviously that time has passed. But in the time that they've been good, they tend to get the benefit of the doubt, right? They have some years that they play a decent schedule. I don't know that last year was necessarily one of those. I don't know that this year is one of them. When you take a look at the schedule last year, they opened up against a good Texas A&M team, right? Personally, a game that I expected them to lose, right? They pulled that thing out. That was a hell of a game.
You get former Notre Dame coach. You get Mike Elko. So, I mean.
Yeah, that was a good game. Yeah, that was a good game in College Station, right? A tough place to play at Kyle Field, right? They win that game. But then, like you mentioned, right, they go out game 2 and lose at home to Northern Illinois, which is insane. Like, at the time, I was like, what the hell just happened? They just lost to Northern Illinois. Like, they're cooked. They're done. All right, but then
that season.
Yeah. But then I was like, oh, they're done. But then they go on and reel off, 13 straight wins and make the national title game, right? So it's not how you start, right? It's how you end. And they had, when you look at their schedule, right? I mean, they beat a good Texas A&M team, right? And then, they really don't have a really great, not a good win against Louisville, right? Louisville was a good team last year, really good offense. They beat a good Georgia Tech team, 31-13. They whooped up Florida State, which appreciate you for that, 52-3. And then, after that, they beat probably an overmatched Army team, 49-14.
I mean, those are the two. The Army and Navy. People are like, oh, they play Navy this year. I'm like, I get it. I love the story with Navy last year or Army, whichever. They were great. But I'm like, are we really like? Yeah. Because they're playing. Are we really saying that's a top 25 victory?
Yeah, listen, they were ranked 22 at the time, which again, good for them, right? But I don't. Obviously the service academies play a fairly light schedule most years.
Second off, I want to thank everybody. Navy,
100%.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for what you've done for this country.
We got Q out here. Q on here. Q is a first responder. What you guys do, obviously. When we had Hurricane Milton down here, my brother-in-law, his former stepfather is a firefighter, and he was sending us like the pictures after Helene and Milton. I'm like, dude, you're fucking out there, like water's up to your waist, trying to save people, So I mean, all first responders, everybody who serves, I want to thank everybody.
100%.
For what they do.
Thank you. Yeah, man. And in natural disaster and stuff like that, man, you really see the what it is that we do really, on display, for everybody. And it's impressive, man, especially with anywhere in the country, man, where you get the natural disasters like California, Florida, places like that in the Midwest where you get your tornadoes and everything like that. In Texas, where you get some flooding and all that stuff, and that's where you really see the the first responders, man, and they really are on full display in terms of their skills and what they do every day, man. So shout out to anybody, in the business, man, anybody, as a first responder, definitely, respect and definitely appreciate what you guys do anywhere in the country you guys do it. But yeah, man, then, again, going back to the schedule, they beat USC, which not super impressive last year. Then they go into the playoffs. They beat 8th ranked Indiana, which Indiana was a good team last year. Beat them 27-17. They handled Georgia, right? And that's when, to me, I looked at Notre Dame as like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
man.
Because when you look at the way Notre Dame is built, you to me, at least, I wasn't ready to put them on that same level as, not necessarily every SEC team, but definitely as a team like Georgia. Why? Because Georgia excels in the trenches and Georgia excels on the lines of scrimmage, right? And so when you look at what they did against Georgia, obviously, a guy like Gunnar Stockton starting his first game after taking over for Carson Beck against Texas. right? And so obviously, you know, not ideal circumstances even for a team like Georgia, given their talent and everything like that. The way they lost that game, the way Georgia lost that game, you know, on the line of scrimmage and the whole deal, man. I think, yeah, man. Again, even if you would have told me before that game starts, hey, Notre Dame's going to win that game. You know, to me, I don't expect it to be the type of game that it was, right? The type of game that it was, again, on the line of scrimmage, you know, Notre Dame just running it, you know, down their throats and the whole deal. And so, you know, they win that game. And they win that game 23-10. Again, they dominate Georgia for the most part, especially in the second half. You know, then they go and play, you know, Penn State ended up being a really good game. They win that game 27-24 to make the title game, you know, and then they lose to Ohio State 34-23.
That game was impressive too. I mean,
yeah, that was a good game. That was a great game.
I mean, like, I was impressed Notre Dame to come back and make it a really good game,
Mm-hmm.
and it could have been a lot closer if it wasn't for that late pass to Jeremiah Smith that was like 56 yards that killed my bet. That would have made me a nice $50, which would have been a nice day at the bar for Russ.
Yeah, they pulled that game out. Ended up being a good game, a fun game to watch for sure. And then the Ohio State game, man. Again, listen, no shame there in losing to a team like Ohio State, probably the most talented team in the country last year. I don't know that there's, you know, really anybody who's in the conversation. You know, they won the title for a reason last year. Loaded, you know, testament to the fact that, you know, they had 14 guys drafted, if I'm not mistaken. And so, again, loaded in terms of who they had to play in the title game. Again, no shame there, especially, you know, first time playing for a title and, you know, and how long, right? I mean, they haven't won a title since '88, haven't played for a title, obviously. Yeah, I mean, they haven't played for a title. They've been good, obviously, but they haven't played for a title. So, you know, again, you fast forward right to the offseason, guys get drafted, right? And you look at the list of guys that got drafted, you know, Ben Morrison, corner, goes to Tampa Bay in the second round. Xavier Watts, really, really talented safety, who, if I'm not mistaken, was the Bednarik Award winner, right? As a top defensive player in the country. He goes in the third round to the Falcons. Jack Kaiser, really, really productive linebacker for them, taken by Jacksonville in the fourth. Riley Mills, guy who got injured towards the end of the year, who probably would have helped them a lot against Ohio State had he not been injured, but gets taken by Seattle in the fifth. Mitchell Evans is a tight end who goes to Carolina in the fifth, and Riley Leonard goes to Indianapolis in the sixth round. So, you know, guys who were big-time contributors, especially on defense. And, you know, you take a look, you know, at you know, what we came here to talk about, right? Stuff that maybe could you know, keep them from contending. Then you start on offense, and I'll be honest with you, man, like, you look at what it is that could keep them from contending when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, and obviously you have to start with quarterback, right? And you look at the contenders to start at quarterback. You look at CJ Carr, right? And you look at Kenny Menchie, who are in the running to replace Riley Leonard after Steve Angeli transferred to Syracuse. And you know, again, nervous. I don't know if nervous maybe is the word, but you look at what CJ Carr didn't do anything last year, right? He literally did nothing last year. A super talented guy who was actually the grandson of Lloyd Carr, who was the head coach of the University of Michigan, which is kind of crazy that he didn't end up at Michigan, but you know, he's from Michigan, but ended up at Notre Dame. And then you look at Kenny.
Close to a rival.
Yeah, man, that's big. I can't imagine that went over great, you know, with that side of the family when he committed.
I don't know if that's. I don't know what you know Thanksgiving's going to look like in the Carr household.
Yeah, if he goes out and whoops Michigan as a starter at Notre Dame, I can't imagine that he's going to be popular at Thanksgiving or Christmas, right? And then you look at Kenny Menchie, who's a sophomore, but Kenny Menchie has completed a total of 3 passes in his career between 23 and 24 for a total of 16 yards, right? So you look at literally no production for your 2 potential starters. But where I look at a team like Notre Dame and them having a chance to have that not be necessarily a weakness for the team, brand new starting quarterbacks have tended to succeed in college football. When you look at, you know, the last, like, you know, 15, 20 years, and especially the most recent, like 10 years in the transfer portal era, you know, the success has been there, right? There is a history of success for first-time starters that I think Notre Dame fans can take some comfort in. And then also you look at their OC, right? A guy like Mike Denbrock, who has been at Cincinnati, has been at LSU, right? He took Desmond Ridder and made that guy a two-time American Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Year. Desmond Ridder, I don't know if you guys have seen that guy play in the NFL. He's not good. He's not good, right? But Mike Denbrock made that guy a two-time Conference Offensive Player of the Year, and then took Jaden Daniels, who wasn't a super popular transfer portal addition when he got to LSU. Like, people weren't looking at him going, oh man, he's going to be, a stud, right? And they basically celebrated when Jaden Daniels left Arizona State, right? Goes to LSU and under Mike Denbrock becomes, the second pick in the draft, goes on to have the best, rookie year that any quarterback has ever had in the NFL. So if you look at those two things, right, you're working with, some talent at the quarterback position, obviously potential, right? And obviously nothing proven. But then you add a guy like Mike Denbrock, who you give the benefit of the doubt to based on his previous history with quarterbacks, what he's been able to turn them into. And you think, hey, this is a marriage that could, bear some fruit.
Yeah. I mean, going off of the Marcus Freeman, what you said earlier, I think what he's doing, he's built that mold of that Notre Dame program in his image of, hey, we're going to play really tough defense. We're going to have a quarterback who doesn't make mistakes, which Riley Leonard did make mistakes, but his leadership ended up at the end, overplaying that because, obviously it made the title game, and we're going to have a strong running game. And you got Jeremiah Love. I mean, that 1-2 punch they got is going to be really good with Love and Price this year. Yeah. But going in with the, looking like it's going to be CJ Carr is what, we're assuming right off the bat, going into play my number, was it 10 Miami right off the bat, a guy who's a redshirt freshman is going to be a tough, right off the bat, really tough. And then you're going to have to play, a Mike Elko Texas A&M team, and they're going to bring it right off the bat. So, but I mean, you have the weapons on the out. You obviously have Jeremiah Love, who could be a Heisman candidate this year. Obviously, you have the weapons on the outside with the transfer Malachi Fields and Jaden Greathouse, who just went off in the college football playoffs.
Yep.
And the offensive line should be very good. Definitely does have some injuries, but they had injuries last year. So we could see, and it was a pretty damn good offensive line last year. But I mean, who are they going to have? They might have some young guys right off the bat. But I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, it's all going to come down to CJ Carr on what he can do. Can he minimize the mistakes of being a young redshirt freshman, or Kenny Minchie, whoever they go with on August 31st? But I mean, I think they're going to be ready. I think Marcus Freeman is going to have these guys going. I'm expecting a great game right off the bat. But I think we both agree having a guy who's never thrown a college football pass. I know I know Miami's not the same when it was the Orange Bowl, but that Hard Rock Stadium is going to be packed and ready to go after last year's season, because the hype for the Hurricanes is back. So it's going to be a raucous atmosphere for either quarterback, because they're never going to be, they've never played in that situation.
Yeah. You touched on a lot of good things, man. And you go back to, like I mentioned, right, their OC and what he was able to do, first and foremost with a guy in Riley Leonard who, a guy who family legacy, right, at Notre Dame. He was celebrated when he went back. I think it was like his grandfather or something like that played at Notre Dame, and the whole deal. He was, and I'll be honest with you, I think he was better at Duke as a passer, I feel like, than he was at Notre Dame. Right? I remember when he hit the portal, everybody knew he was going to Notre Dame. Everybody knew that, right? He hit the portal. Everybody was like, okay, he's going to Notre Dame, and I was like, oh wow, that's big, right? And as somebody obviously rooting interest in, in the conference when he left, Duke, I was like, okay, well, good riddance, right? And so you're looking at that, and I expected, him to really just, oh wow, under that type of OC and with that talent around him, I expected him to really kind of take the next step as like a passer. And honestly, he was just okay as a passer, right? When you look at what it is he did and in that offense, right? Was an okay passer, was a better runner really than he was a passer, right? Kind of similar to like Haynes King at Georgia Tech, right? Very similar games, right? Better, really good runners, okay passers, right? Even though I think Haynes King is probably a better passer, but kind of similar type of quarterback. And then you even though he wasn't great necessarily, right? And the way Notre Dame won was again a very SEC type of style, which was win on the line of scrimmage, right? Play good defense, run the ball. But you look at what they did in terms of offense, right? Obviously defense top 25, right? You look at they were number 5 in yards allowed per game, number 3 in passing yards allowed per game. But offensively, they weren't bad, right? You look at 29 in yards per game at 432 yards, which again, you're talking about 134, 135, FBS teams, pretty good. And then number 7 in scoring offense. I was a little bit surprised by that. I didn't think they were ranked that high in scoring offense, but the way they did it wasn't the prettiest offense, right? They lined up, they ran the ball, right? And that's the way they ran their offense, right? Play action, and the whole deal. But again, you fast forward to 25 and you look at who's ever going to take that, the reins in terms of the starting quarterback, what you're going to have in front of you on the offensive line, right? Obviously, they're not lacking for talent, right? This is a team when you look at, their starting left tackle. I think he hurt his arm, right? It was like a freak accident, like an ATV accident or something like that. So I think he's going to miss part of the season. I don't think he'll be starting against Miami, but they're talented across that line. So I don't know that he's going to be, a huge loss necessarily, but this is a unit on the offensive line of Notre Dame who is projected to be in the running for the Joe Moore Award as a top offensive line in the country, right? They're expected by and large by everybody. They're projected to be a top 5 offensive line in the country, if not top 2 or 3, right? Again, very good offensive line. And then it doesn't hurt if you're CJ Carr or Kenny Minchey to hand off to what most people would assume is or agree that is the best running back in the country, right? And a guy like Jeremiah Love, and I watched a video of him the other day on Twitter, and I know that kind of made the rounds. The guy's footwork he was doing, like the skeleton and the whole deal, in camp, dude, the guy's footwork is incredible. Like absolutely incredible. So impressed with the way that kid moves. And again, behind that line, right? And now you're going to have some talent on the outside, with Greathouse and Field and Malachi Fields, rather, you brought over from Virginia in the transfer portal. Are you in a great place necessarily in terms of experience with a starting quarterback? No, you're not. And especially like you mentioned, you have to go to Miami game 1, and I can already hear the people, oh man, it's Miami. It's not. Listen,
it's going to be ready.
When 2017, when Notre Dame went down there, Miami, opened up a can on them. Like those are the type of games that the Miami fans show up for. And this is going to be no different. That game is sold out. It's Sunday night, national TV at 7:30. Everybody will have been tailgating for like 10, 12 hours by the time that game starts. And I'm telling you right now.
I looked.
Yeah.
Tickets are not cheap.
I know it. And I'm telling you, but when that game starts, listen, anybody right now on August 7th, 2025, who thinks that CJ Carr more than likely, or Kenny Minchey, who knows? I don't know if they both play or whatever. I'm assuming CJ Carr starts, but anybody who thinks that it is going to be a cakewalk in that first game at Miami, or it's going to be easy to hear in that game, in Miami, I'm telling you right now, you have another thing coming. Listen, for Bethune-Cookman, it's not going to matter. But I'm telling you, Sunday night, August 31st in Miami for Notre Dame, I'm telling you that crowd is going to be insane. So who's ever going to take that first snap better be ready for that.
I looked right when those tickets went, and it was like 2:30 to sit up behind the field goal post at the top of the stadium. And don't get me wrong, like football, I'm fine sitting high in football. Give me like the 30 to 30 in between the 30-yard line. I'll sit high. I don't give a shit. But like behind the goalpost, to pay $232 to sit behind the goalpost and see the players' backside, I'm like half the time I'm good on that. I'll watch it on the TV and get every angle. but I mean, it's going to be raucous. It's going to be after Miami's season last year, where they probably should have made the playoffs if they did the defense did their part. The hype is starting to come back. Cristobal, I picked Miami to win the ACC last year. I was like, if you looked at Miami in 2023, I'm like, they lost a handful of games by 7 points or less. If you make a little less mistakes, you're going to be good. Now, no one in their right mind predicted what Cam Ward was going to do. No one, anybody who says Cam Ward was going to be a Heisman front runner, I call bullshit. After, I mean, I watched Washington State, and he was great for about 4 or 5 games, and then fell off. No one would have predicted what he did. But I mean, it's gonna they're gonna get up for that, and Miami's probably the same as LA. It's beautiful weather. There's a lot to do in Miami, like we spoke of before. If your team isn't winning, they're not going to show up. There's a whole lot. You can go to the beach. You can go to another sporting event. You can go out to a club, because I know there's a lot of them in Miami. But for a redshirt freshman or a sophomore, it's gonna be loud. You got number 4 or 5 Notre Dame versus number 10 Miami. So it's going to be a really tough environment for a young quarterback. But I mean, going on the defensive side, not just speaking about what they lose on the defensive side in players with great experience, but you lose your defensive coordinator who goes to Cincinnati, and now Golden, and now you're going to have to replace that. And we all know what Golden did last year in Notre Dame, making that unit one of the best units in college football.
Yeah, listen, Al Golden, obviously a name very familiar with Miami fans. A guy who maybe might trigger some feelings. With the Miami fans, I think a guy who probably recruited better than he gets credit for, and a guy who produced some NFL talent and stuff. But a guy that ultimately they had to let go based on the way his tenure ended there. But he moves on to Cincinnati. In the NFL with the Bengals, right? And you look at, Chris Ash takes over, and this is a guy who, they brought over, from Jacksonville, long NFL history. When you look at his especially recent history, I mean, he was a scout with the Jaguars, so he wasn't on field necessarily with them. Previously, he was the defensive backs coach with the Raiders. He was a safeties coach with the Jaguars. In college, he held several roles with Texas. He's been with, Rutgers and Ohio State and Arkansas, right? So this is a guy, extensive coaching history, a guy they bring over from the NFL. Obviously, big shoes to fill when you talk about Al Golden and how that unit performed and produced last year. So, that'll be definitely something to keep an eye on, in terms of, what he's going to do with that defense and everything like that. But you talk about what it is that he's got at his disposal. Again, we talked about the way Marcus Freeman has been, recruiting. And every single level, on that Notre Dame defense has studs, right? The D-line is loaded. The linebackers are really good. The DBs
could be the best secondary in college.
The DBs, yeah. Right now, if you look at what it is you have at on defense specifically, DBs, from everything that I've read and from everything that I've heard in terms of what people are talking about, you could definitely make a strong argument that they're the best defensive backs or the best DB room in the country. Right? Obviously, I think Ohio State, Georgia would have something to say about that, possibly Alabama, so on and so forth, right? But a dude like Leonard Moore, guy who was a stud last year, a true freshman, was a sophomore this year, so on and so forth, right? And so again, man, you have to like what you have there. Christian Gray is another dude who's a stud, had a great year last year, and I think you're expecting him, to just continue where he left off last year. This is a team that when you look at the two deep, they're not at all depending on many underclassmen. You look at some guys, and obviously the guys that they are looking at to possibly contribute are all guys who are super highly recruited, because of the way Marcus Freeman has been putting together these recruiting classes, right? So again, man, I think all in all, when you look at what could possibly keep this team from contending, man, You start on offense, right? And obviously at the most important position on the field, which is quarterback. I think there's some questions there. And I always go back to when you're looking at a position group, talent, depth, experience, right? At quarterback, they've got talent. They just don't have any experience, right? Literally nothing, right? They've combined to complete. I think all the completions come from Kenny Minchie, right? And I think he's completed like 4 passes, right? And so but there is talent there, and they're going to be surrounded by talent, right? They're going to be surrounded by a great offensive line. They're going to be surrounded by maybe the best running back in the country, really good receivers. This kid Raritan at tight end, who they're expecting to be really, really good. And then obviously, a defense that obviously is not going to lack for talent, even after the losses to the NFL.
I mean,
think
not
it's a deep
talent, but lack for leadership, because you lose Jack Kaiser, you lose
Yeah, when you're looking at who they lost, I think definitely leadership went out the door for sure, right? You're looking at Xavier Watts, obviously, big time loss, there, and you're looking at obviously the losses, on the D line and everything like that, Jack Kaiser obviously is a loss at linebacker, a guy who was a big time leader. But man, again, I don't know that roster well enough to know who's gonna fill the leadership void, but I've seen enough to know that they won't struggle to fill the talent void that those guys left. Right, even though Xavier Watts, Ben Nerick Award winner, ball hawk, and the whole deal, but with what you have, in terms of talent back there, I don't think you're going to struggle to fill his loss and everything like that. So. Again, when you're looking at this roster and when you're looking at what could keep them from contending, honestly, we'll see what the defensive, coordinator Chris Ash brings to the table in terms of, a system. Obviously, he's a guy who wasn't at Notre Dame last year, so you have to kind of wonder, okay, how's he going to change things? But you have to like his pedigree, his background, and he comes from the NFL, so you got to figure that he wouldn't struggle there, right? And so, again, man, I'm not seeing much with this team that would lead me to believe that they're not going to be able to contend. Obviously, they're ranked number 5 to start the year, so everybody agrees that this team is deep, it's talented, and built to make a run in 25.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, long gone are the days of Notre Dame can't recruit the front 7 guys because of the academic requirements. Long gone are those days of the names of Notre Dame, from those defensive linemen to the linebackers they put in the NFL. And obviously, with they put some unbelievable secondary players. Obviously, Kyle Hamilton being the one, who's probably the biggest name right now recently. But I mean, I remember going back, early 2010s, 20. Oh, we can't get these front 7 guys. Those days are long gone now.
Yeah. Kyle Hamilton
always struggling with those.
Kyle Hamilton, probably for my money, the best safety in the league right now. Obviously, I mean, you got some other guys in the running. A guy like Derwin James is a stud. You got Jesse Bates down in Atlanta. Obviously one of the best safeties in the league. But I think by and large, when you're looking at a guy like Kyle Hamilton, yeah, I mean, to me, do measurables, the range that guy covers in the whole deal. One of probably the best safety for my money in the NFL. And when you're looking at what they're recruiting, there was a time right back in the Manti Te'o days, right, where you were like, oh man, they've got good players, but they can't compete on the line of scrimmage with the SEC. Those days are gone. Obviously Marcus Streaming recruits well. They have NIL, at their disposal. Obviously, a lot of alumni, from that school, people that are really interested in seeing them, get back to what they once were. So, on that end, man, when you look at everything they're doing, man, they can compete with anybody at this point, right? And you look at the recruiting rankings, you look at the polls, and they're up there with the best teams in the Big Ten and the SEC, and they really, can hang with anybody right now when it comes to talent, when it comes to, coaching, when it comes to line of scrimmage. They don't take a backseat to anybody right now.
I think we can both probably agree on the NIL has been good for college football. It's kind of made college football more even. We're seeing more teams, but it also, at the end of the day, there needs to be more rules. But as we've seen, Notre Dame, since 2012, they've been good. until last year. That it's not like they've been in the national title contention for. I mean, they've always had Fiesta. That's what I remember the Brady Quinn days. It was like even Notre Dame. Hey, Notre Dame does good. Fiesta Bowl. That's where you're going. But I mean, so like the NIL has definitely evened the field. It's not SEC dominant now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's even the field. Now we're seeing the Big Ten, and I'm like, hey, is the Big Ten the best conference in college football? I'm still an SEC guy, but if you're going off me being a realist, yes, the Big Ten is the best conference right now in college football. So it's definitely even the playing field for everybody. Now, I think we both agree there needs to be something changed on the NIL that they have to get together, but it definitely has given schools like in Notre Dame, who probably wouldn't have the same opportunities as Ohio State because of what the academics bring to Notre Dame to compete on that level.
Yeah, that was one of those deals where, again, that was a prevailing thought, for a long time, that Notre Dame, it was hard for them to compete, when you consider the academics. But man, you look around the country, they're not the only, school with difficult academics. Again, again, based on familiarity and the whole deal. Obviously, Miami is not an easy school to get into, right? When you look at their acceptance rate, when you look at,
don't get me wrong, I've heard Florida State's not an easy school to get into either, which surprised the living.
That's a little shocking to me. Yeah, that's a little shocking.
Literally, I know kids who are like, I didn't get into Florida State. I had to go to FAU. I'm like,
yeah, I to me that's a little shocking to hear. I didn't know. Obviously, I mean, it's a state school. I think Florida's probably tough to get into than Florida State, if I'm honest. But again, don't quote me on that. But again, we've gone to the point now where teams, having high academic standards isn't isn't necessarily something that's a detractor, isn't something that keeps people from contending anymore, right? I think again, Notre Dame, has proven it. Miami, that's never been something that's really kept them from contending. It's been bad coaching hires, and it's been other things that kept them from contending, not tough academic standards. And so, again, man, when you're looking around at the landscape and what it is that Notre Dame has built, I think, man, you're looking at a guy like Marcus Freeman, who has come in, done a great job, has had no bad years. His worst year, has been 9 wins, right? And then you're looking at year 4. There's no signs of them, not being good, right? I think they're going to be right there in it. When you look at the schedule, it's a very favorable schedule. You look at, outside of really Miami, and USC, if I am missing somebody, then feel free to tell me. A&M, I think maybe is one of those schools, right? But you look at the schedule, and overall, it's not a it's not a schedule, that is super daunting, right? You open up with Miami, and then you got Texas A&M, but then otherwise, again, it's manageable. Purdue, Arkansas, I expect to be a little bit better, but not great. Boise State, could be good. NC State won't be bad. USC should be, decent. But again, not a lot of games that I'm looking at. And again, I haven't looked at any spreads. But to me, I look at that schedule, and I would imagine they're favored as of August 7, 2025. I would imagine they're favored in every game they play. Say again?
They're favored in the Miami game.
Yeah, was that 3 points?
Hard Rock's giving them 3 points.
Yeah, which cool. All right. I guess we'll see.
He was over there. I'm ready to make his bets. Downloading the app. Like, I got some bets.
I guess we'll see, man. We'll wrap up with this, man. I know last time Miami.
One thing, the Texas. This is for Bobby because I know he's listening. Texas A&M quarterback Marcus King is from Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville.
Oh wow! Look at that.
The schools, the academies in Tennessee look like colleges, and I thought like Mater Dei looked like a college, or like J. Sarah. And then I moved to Nashville. I'm like Battleground, which is in Franklin, where it's insane. The academies and that, a lot more room to build, obviously. Yeah. But I mean, I'm like, is this a college, a university?
Yeah. We have one right up the road here from me is Buford High School in Georgia. And if you look at what it is, they just put together the stadium. They just opened up a few days ago. It literally looks like a college stadium. It's I haven't seen it. I've driven by it. I haven't been inside of it yet. It looks absolutely
High
beautiful.
school football is right around the corner too.
No, yeah, that's I think it's next week. I want to say that one gets kicked off, if I'm not mistaken, in a lot of the country. So, but again, man, just to wrap up, I was in. I don't know if I told you that I went to Notre Dame a while back to watch Miami Notre Dame. Obviously, game that Miami lost, but I flew into Chicago. Me and one of my best friends. We landed in Chicago, drove to South Bend, easy drive, like 2 hours. Watched the game, and came back to Chicago. But before we went out there, I just wasn't expecting to be treated well. Right, we're in Miami gear, fully expected to catch hell from anybody in Notre Dame colors. And when I tell and I've been to I've been to places on the road, right? I've been to Gainesville, I've been to Tallahassee, been to Chapel Hill, obviously been to a few places, right, to watch Miami play and stuff. Fully expected to not be treated well. Fully expected to just get the business from Notre Dame fans. Man, when I tell you that we were treated unbelievably well in South Bend, really really impressed with the fan base. You know what you get from the student section, everything, which that's fine. That's every stadium, right? That goes without saying. But like the adults, in South Bend, when I tell you, again, treated incredibly well, welcomed everywhere we went. I mean, the usher at the gate, when we showed him tickets and everything, he's like, hey, welcome to South Bend. Your first time here, sir. And he's like, you guys, have a great time. Good luck today. Super, super impressed with how nice people were, how welcoming people were, on campus. Have you been? You've been to Notre Dame before?
I gotta go, man. I gotta
It's
go.
a cool campus. It's a really cool campus, right?
I
Touchdown
see touchdown
Jesus
Jesus.
and the grotto and kind of all that stuff, man. And when I tell you, it's a really cool, it's a historic campus. To be able to see the stadium, be able to see like the inside of it and all the statues and all the stuff dedicated to, obviously, maybe the most historic football program in the country. It was cool, man. The surrounding areas, the restaurants, the bars, man, everybody. When I tell you, like, the experience was first class, I was very, very pleasantly surprised, man. So for anybody who's traveling to Miami, that's wearing Notre Dame colors, I will tell you, don't expect the same behavior and the same treatment. Not for me. I'll
I
be
think
there. I
Notre
won't
Dame,
be.
Notre Dame exudes a little more class. I don't know if that's Notre Dame exudes a little more class than
Yeah, no. I wouldn't push back on that at all. Listen, man, I know who I root for. I know where I grew up. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
So,
Michael, thanks for tuning in, man.
hey, Michael, appreciate you commenting, man. Yeah, hey, like I said, brother, very, very cool in terms of the fan base. Like I said, super, super welcoming, very, very nice people. I'm just telling you, man, kickoff is, I think, 7:30 at Miami. People will have been tailgating for the better part of 10 hours, about. And I'm just, again, I know where I was born and raised. I know what you'll be around down there, and I'm just telling you, just don't expect the same treatment. Again, not for me, because I listen. Aside from what I may think of the football team, obviously there's nothing personal there. The what happens on the field, happens on the field. But I'll never ever have anything negative to say about the fan base at Notre Dame, man. I mean, like I said, those guys were first class all the way. From the time I got there, during the game, and afterwards, even having been wearing Miami gear and having lost that game, we were never disrespected, never treated negatively, never had anything thrown at us or anything, man. Went to a bar after the game, man. Everybody was cool. So really, really impressive, really, really classy fan base. So never got a chance really to express that on the air, but I was super impressed with the campus, super impressed with the fan base. Everything was first class in
I think it's
South
an
Bend.
experience definitely to go to Notre Dame, not just a football game, like you said, the campus. You see touchdown Jesus, which is obviously famous. Uh, obviously, and then you. Um, I mean, There's one thing I got
to. that is, yeah, man. Look,
it's probably par for the course.
I mean, I wasn't there. I can't refute that one way or the other. But am I surprised, shocked? Not in the least, bro. Not in the least. I get it. I'm one of those fans, man. I root for my team, but I'm also respectful of everybody else. I'll talk trash, man. I'll banter. I think it's good back and forth. But I'm not one of these people, man. I'm not cussing, yelling, throwing shit at people, man. That's just not the way I'm built.
I remember going to a Chargers Jet, my first ever Jets games, Chargers Jets, and me and my brother. I'm 10, he's like 12. So we're in our Jets jersey. We're all happy. We have this like 60-year-old man. Jets. This is the Chargers go like 5-0. They have like Drew Brees, LaDainian Tomlinson, cussing us out. He's like, "Go back to fucking New York." Excuse my language. You're gonna be shoveling your shit snow. I'm like, we're just over there having a great time. I'm like, bro, I'll talk to Travis. Like, I hate the Dolphins. Bobby is a huge Dolphins fan. Does that mean like if he talks trash to me, I get offended? And I'm like, no, bring it on. I really don't like. All my friends are. I hate every single team they like. I hate the Lakers with a passion. They think I talk shit all the time. I'm like, I don't really care if you root for my team or not. I don't think you should care. I'm like, it's fine. Like it's sports. It's healthy smack talk. I mean, like a nice little smack talk going back and forth, but I'm not taking anything personal. It's not like
no, you shouldn't, man. You shouldn't.
I mean, like,
it's sports. Listen, man, it's sports at the end of the day, man. I've been to a lot of sporting events and I've seen a lot of, just stupid behavior. A lot, obviously, the liquid courage, takes over and just a lot of people that ruin other people's days, by fighting and just, doing, dumb shit that you shouldn't be doing, man. People being disrespectful. At the end of the day, man, it's a sporting event. It's not life or death, even though, it doesn't matter how long we've been rooting for them, how much money we put on whatever, man, it's not life or death. It's a sporting event at the end of the day. Respect the other people's fan base, man. Respect everybody around you. There's no reason to do that.
There's one thing I want, and I think Bobby needs to, the one thing, anything related to Miami sports, the one thing Caneswear needs to have and that I will rock is give me Catholics versus convicts. I want that T-shirt. That's the only thing I want.
Listen, man, Bobby's got the plug to Brett over at Caneswear, man. I know they're on tonight. You may want to get on the chat over there and tell Brett to.
That's the only thing I'd ever rock. But that shirt is just killer.
Yeah, that's a great shirt, man. That's a great shirt, classic. So yeah, man, hit up Brett over at Caneswear, man. He may be able to, that's definitely the plug right there, man. Anything merch related, that's the man to talk to right there. So
that is definitely the guy in South Florida.
100%, man. 100%. I've definitely ordered a few things from Caneswear myself. So, listen, guys, that's gonna do it for tonight, man. That's our look at the 2025 Notre Dame season. I think a season that if you're looking at it objectively, I don't know that there's many reasons to be concerned if you're a Notre Dame fan. Again, I think on offense, man, if that quarterback position is even decent, which I expect it to be, I think that team is going to be a handful, and I fully expect them to have no more. Again, I think 2 losses in the regular season would almost be a disappointment. Based on their schedule, based on the talent, fully expect them to be favored in every game. And really have a great season. We'll see if our predictions are right. We'll save the Miami Notre Dame score prediction for later on as we get closer to the game. We'll tell you how we think that game's going to go. But again, man, I think if you're a Notre Dame fan, I think you have a lot to be excited about. And Michael Parks, appreciate you, man. Good luck. Good luck to you. Are you going to the game? Because I'll be down there for that. Not sure if you will be, but. Again, man, I fully expect that. I think that's the best game of the weekend. If you're looking, there's a lot of good games. I think to me, obviously based on the rankings, based on my feelings about, the teams playing in it, I think that's probably going to be the best game of the weekend. And so we'll see.
Did Nussbaum get carted off today?
Yeah, I think they updated it though. I don't know if I'm
seeing real news or fake news.
No. He got, the card at off deal. I think sometimes they make more of that than what there should be. Like, there's been some big time. I think Rashawn Slater, with the Chargers today, he got carted off and they confirmed he tore his patella tendon out for the season.
I saw that.
Huge.
Yeah,
That's big.
After that big contract too.
Oh, dude, like a week later, then he tore his knee up. So 812 Southern Indiana. All right. So Michael won't be at the game. So but yeah, man, I'm sure he'll be watching, man. So good luck to you. But yeah, man, there again, no, I think Nussmeier, he avoided injury. I don't know exactly what it was, but I think he avoided like major injury or something like that. So I don't think there's anything to really report there. But again, we're almost there, man. There's preseason football on tonight. And we are, based on the schedule we looked at, we are 2 weeks.
Good tonight.
Yeah. We're 2 weeks from college football officially starting. Week 0, Thursday night games that'll be on. So there'll be a couple of decent games there. Nebraska, I think, is playing Boise State, so on and so forth. So almost there, man. We'll have preseason NFL to kind of, get us there the rest of the way. And, here really, really soon, man, we'll have some actual, football to break down and talk about. So, if you guys haven't already, guys, do us a huge favor, man. Like and subscribe to the show. Get on FTSN and FTSN Extra on YouTube, man. A lot of great content from a lot of great people. Go on there and like and subscribe to the shows if you can. We all would definitely appreciate it. So for my man Russ, Bobby, behind the boards over there somewhere listening, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Tune in next week for our last part of our preseason look at some contenders. And we're going to end it with the Texas Longhorns. So that'll be next week's topic. Looking at probably, we'll look at the schedules and get it together, but probably Wednesday or Thursday sometime next week. So for my man Russ, for my man Bobby, everybody at FTSN, appreciate you guys joining in. Michael Parks, appreciate the comments. Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take it easy.